could I just ask you there, is that almost like you would feel most of us are hiding something? Most of us are hiding. I think most of you guys are hiding. Most of us are pretending. And even if we were good this week, last week we might have done something else. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
and so your heart is that keep laying it down. Don't hide. Don't hide. Bring it out
Yes.
into the light. Bring it
Yes.
out like
My
it's okay
yeah.
because God's big enough to handle whatever you think is
Yes.
shaming
Yeah.
you, and you need to now
Yeah.
hide behind. Mate,
Yeah.
get over it. We're all sinners.
Yeah.
We're all
It's
flawed.
crazy. It's crazy that people are the most fearful of being honest at church. Like they will be honest with their best friends. They'll be honest with their worldly friends, their work friends, but they won't be honest at church. And that gets me, like that really frustrates me because I'm like, if there's anywhere that people should feel safe, that people should feel like they can come to, like, or someone that they can come to, it's God. Like, he is not afraid of your wrestle. Like he wants us to wrestle. He wants us to be honest. He wants us to be frustrated and to sometimes just cry or like just shout or just tell him what's on our heart. And I think that's
Like do the
something that
Forrest
like
Gump thing, the Forrest Gump thing
yeah,
where he's at the
just
top of the
cry.
boat. He's just going, ah,
Yeah, just
rage,
cry.
rage. I
And
can take it.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people are stuck in the same season of their life and they will be for the rest of their life because they're not willing to confront the pain and be honest about the pain with people and with God. And my biggest fear around for the people around me and like my biggest passion, sorry, I'll just change that. My biggest passion is to not see people stuck in the same season. Like people you talk to who they just constantly talk about their pain. They constantly talk about like that one time where this happened and it's just constantly comes up in conversation like time after time after time after time and they live like that for the rest of their life. I don't think that's how God's called us to live, and I don't think that that's what God means when he said that the truth will set us free. And so I like for me my passion is to see people come out of that, to step out of that narrative and to step into truth, and to into
Woo!
all that God.
Love it.
So
Amen,
yeah.
amen. I love it. It's so you. That's what I sensed in you. Just such a conviction. Like, see, to like you're not pandering to feelings, and not that you would tread on people like they're pearls, so to speak. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're committed, and what you said about your pastor who loved fiercely, you're committed to seeing them break through. And sometimes that is holding them and saying, don't run away, don't go away,
Totally.
stay with
Totally.
me here. Let's go through
To
this. Come on, I know it hurts. I know this sucks.
yeah.
I know, but I want you to stay with me. I'm here for you, and I can take it because God can take it. And you want to be that person to see that catalytic breakthrough. And have you seen it
Yeah.
in your life, Summer?
Like
No, have you seen people going crazy? Have you seen people breaking through?
oh, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Like story after
Mm.
story, I've seen people like we had two girls who came from Filipino churches who were pretty overused, who were broken. They were in almost they're in their 30s. No community, no people. They started coming to our home group, our connect group during COVID. And we just started believing in them because we just saw God had so much more for them than just being overused, burnt out in their local churches with no community around them and no pastoring over their life. And now, like both of them are leading connect groups. There's one of them's a worship leader, but more than just that, like they are on fire for God, and like they feel like not just their relationship with God has been fanned into flame, but like even just their friendships are flourishing. Their social community is flourishing. Like they found their people. They found
Why?
people
Why
to
did it
walk.
help? What changed? They found their people. Just
Well,
double click
what
on that.
changed was us.
Yeah.
What changed with us was we knew that they needed to step out of that community and that church, but there was so much fear because they really wanted to keep pleasing their pastors because they were family friends. And I don't know if you guys know, but Filipino culture is very family
Yep.
based, like
Absolutely.
very
Absolutely.
you know there's a lot
Mm.
of what do you call it, guilt and shame you leave the family church. Or
Yep.
so we've had a few like like hard conversations going, you need to do this for your future. It's not just like it's a little bit of pain right now for a lifetime of freedom. And I think like one thing, Brandon and I've been talking about it a lot, like, and a constant theme that's been coming up is that people are pain avoidant, And we, like, you know, I don't know if you guys listen to Jordan Peterson. I know he's controversial, but he always says this, like,
Yeah.
you will either have
Mm.
pain now or pain later. And 10 times out of 10, I would choose pain now over pain later. You know, just go through a little bit of pain right now for a lifetime of freedom and stepping into all that God has for you, then like avoid pain for the rest of your life, but pay the consequences of it when you're 60 and 70. And so, and you're struggling, you know? So I think one thing that
Mhm.
we just really encourage like those two girls to do is to constantly, okay, pray, ask God, listen to him. Don't run away from the conflict that you know will come, the confrontation that you need to have with your pastors, and being honest with people. So I think part of it is just instilling strength, encourage, like bring courage to people to be able to do the things that they know in their heart they need to do. They just don't have the courage to do it.
And as
That's
they
part of
get through their wrestle, and they break through their chain or the thing that has entangled them, they suddenly
yeah,
come so alive. They really,
totally,
shackles fall off, and you go, wow,
totally,
captives freed.
yeah.
You know, so that's what you're
They
seeing,
slip into,
and
yeah,
that's
they
infectious.
slip in,
Mm,
yeah.
I have a question with that. How did
cool.
you cross paths with them in the first place?
So we had one of the girls from church. She was in this Filipino church, but she came to Glow before us actually. So she joined our Connect group, and she just felt like it was the right space to bring all her friends. So she knew that all of them had been burnt out and hurt, and we especially in that season had a huge heart for broken and burnt out Christians, and we wanted to create a safe space for them to heal, not just heal and just be comfortable in their own space, but to be challenged and to really, yeah, kind of fan into flame what God kind of brought into their lives beforehand before they got burnt out. So yeah, so she felt it was safe. She actually ended up bringing like pretty much, yeah, all of her friends, that whole community, about 10 to 12 of them, and now they're all kind of just flourishing, leading Connect groups.
Cool, cool. Okay, yeah, I asked that question because in my mind I'm already thinking of certain people that that I observe are stuck, right? But they're
Mm,
personal friends, and almost like um, where the stuckness could have been actually from a personal grievance that happened in the past, right? So I'm
yeah,
picking up a couple of things. One was you're saying, sometimes they need to be taken out of that context to be able to find healing and a place, a safe space. So that's kind of where the culture and the context is just not, it's still toxic for them, or they're not being able to break out of that. My question, or I want to sort of see, what do you do if you yourself are part of that person's grievance or being stuck? But you have a heart for them to want to kind of break through and not be stuck in that. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Where you're part of that issue, how do you then, yeah, like how would you help them? Or,
They've got a problem with you too. Is what you're saying. You know
yeah,
they've got a
yeah.
problem, but they've got a
Are
problem
you
with
are
you.
you saying they don't go to your
Mm.
Connect or like your community? They're
Yeah, so
not
you're
in your.
not in constant, but there's been something in the past that they're still have an issue um, they're still living in that stuckness in the context where they're in leadership.
Mm,
They're in leadership and they're leading other connect groups and stuff, but they're still stuck on something that you've affected them, and you've been
yeah.
trying to help them kind of break through, or have
I,
freedom
I
from
think,
that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
I
yeah.
think at the end of the day, you can't want freedom for somebody else that they don't want. Like you can want it for them, but at the end of the day, they need to step into it and you can't force them to. I think if you've done everything you can to try and mend and like bring that up, but they still don't want to engage, maybe they're not ready. You know, and I think that's something that there's also again the tension, right? Like we want people to step into freedom. We want that for them, and again God wants that for everybody, but at the same time, time also is really helpful. Like time heals a lot of wounds too, and time also gives people the space to process, and have a revelation of maybe where they have, where they need us for forgiveness, or where they need to go and be reconciled, or and sometimes people process at different stages and all of that. So I think that like if you've done everything you can, you can't play the game for them. They need to actually step into the court and hit the ball back. So that's on them. That's on them. Like I wouldn't feel like if I've done everything I can and they still don't want to engage, um, I would leave that with the Lord and just be like, God, that's your problem.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. Good on you.
Yeah.
My second, this has been so rich, Summer. So thank you so much for sharing your life, and
Me.
yeah, so cool. Hey, the question around glow and community. So I'm trying to think about how, um, when you strip things back. So we talked about big church, strip back big church. Did you need worship? Not necessarily. Did you need that? Do you need that sermon? Not necessarily. Did I need that particular pastor? Not necessarily. When you strip back things, at what point do you feel you could just go, why don't I just start a connect group and live out our expression of faith through that connect group? What is it about potentially a bigger thing like glow, a corporate glow, that is necessary for you in your faith?
I think that there is something powerful about people appointed by God and coming under people. Um and there's something there's something safe about covering. And so what we feel with Glow is a safety in covering, with Pastor Joel and his leadership and the way that um, he has had revelations about church and church culture and what how he teaches church. We feel like we align with just what his DNA of church and what that looks like. And we've seen the way that he has always tried to align the church to what it looks like in the Bible. Even though it's big, it always comes back to what does God say, and we're going to live that out no matter how big or corporate we are. Corporate doesn't matter. It's biblical that matters. Biblical is first. And so I think for us, um, we wouldn't feel safe stepping out on our own. We actually feel really covered and safe in the covering of Glow Church and the umbrella of that, the leadership, the accountability, so many things. I think just even the culture. We're learning so much in leadership, in how church is done, in just how leadership works. Yeah, and so I think also just we also feel like it's a God thing for us. Like we've been called to this church. We've been called to this space and place. I think again, like the message stays the same, but the vehicle changes all the time. And so I think in this season, this is the vehicle that I think God's called us to step
And I
into.
think those words echo, I guess, some of the thoughts that we've been evolving with, because we've stripped it right back to
Yeah.
what about just us as a group? We're mature Christians. Let's start there.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And strip it right
yeah.
back to that. That almost singular unit for us was our small, close group of Christian friends. And we said, let's start there. But it's so great that your revelation sort of taken you to what you're saying of glow. And I can see what you're saying. You said two really great things. There's an
Mm,
anointing sometimes. And that
yeah.
beautiful anointing is, why would you not want to have some of that shine come on you or be under it, right? Two, it seems to
Yeah.
be the way God does work, where he anoints people and people follow
Yeah.
those people. Like, why does
Yeah.
God do that throughout history, right?
Yeah.
And even if you were to look at, say, um, you know, the different preachers and the different movements that have happened. Usually, it's around someone who's catalyzed it. So I get
Yeah.
that, and then also the covering idea. So the idea of
Mm,
protection, and you don't want to step
yeah.
outside of truth, and you don't know it
Yeah.
all. You're not full time in this, and that
Yeah.
kind of accountability was another big word you used, which is super cool.